Hi, I'm Pam,
And I'm Mark.
and we're Indian Lake Artisans. We handcraft hexagonal knitting needles from sustainably harvested North American hardwood, walnut, cherry, and maple.
We make single points, double points, circulars, interchangeables, as well as other knitting accessories.
Our needles are very ergonomic, lightweight, and an absolute joy to knit with.
Our hexagonal needles are lovingly crafted here on Indian Lake in our little log cabin workshop.
All right, let's talk about the needles. What makes the hex shape so nice?
Well, the hexagonal shape is a six-sided shape, just like your pencil, and the six sides will provide multiple resting points for your fingers, so you don't have to grip the needle as tightly to hold on to it as you're knitting.
So if you think about something that's round when you're holding it, you're only touching the very peak of that surface. You really have to grip that needle tightly to control it. Well, now that you've got those flat sides, two things happen. The needle doesn't spin in your hand anymore, so you don't have to grip it tightly to control that. And you also have a lot more surface area to hold on to, so your grip just naturally loosens up. And that's really going to help out your arthritis, your carpal tunnel, any issues you may have been having.
Stress and strain.
Trigger
just from
finger,
knitting.
all those fun things. But the other nice thing too is how the shape makes the ease of entrance much easier too. So what happens is the yarn rests on the outer points of the shaft and not on the flat. So when you enter that flat side to pick up your stitch, there's just a tiny little gap there. It's not such a big deal when you're knitting one at a time, but when you're knitting two together, knitting in the front and the back, that first stitch off the cast on row, all that is much easier to do because you have that little extra space there.
Yeah, makes it very easy to knit. And you'll get a very uniform tension to your knitting and a very nice crisply defined stitch as well.
So our needles are made out of North American hardwood, maple, cherry, and walnut.
All the wood is harvested from sustainable forests right here in the Great Lakes area.
And the aspects of the three woods, maple is the slickest because it's the tightest grain of the three woods. Cherry's in the middle. Walnut has the most drag. The maple is the lightest in tone. Cherry's in the middle. It's a reddish hue, like a nice golden honey.
Color.
And then the walnut is the darker brown. The nice thing about all the needles is as long as you use some natural fiber from time to time that still has a lanolin in it, that lanolin absorbs into the wood and they get better and better as you use them. And it really seems to have a much bigger effect on the walnut than it does on the other two because the walnut is such an open grain wood. It's almost like the lanolin fills that grain structure and it makes it just better and better and better. They get so sweet. They're like butter.
They do.
Okay. All right, let's start with the fixed circulars. The size range on our fixed circulars is from 2 to 15. Size 2, we can only use the maple wood because the walnut and cherry aren't strong enough. 3, 4, and 5, we do maple and cherry. 6 through 15 are maple and cherry and walnut.
And then we do standard lengths, 16, 24, 32, and 40 inch. You can also do a custom length. We do that all the time for people, and it's never an additional charge.
So if you wanted like a 60-inch cord or a 38-inch cord, anything like that, we're happy to do that for you. And when we talk about the length of the needle, that is measured from the tip of one needle to the tip of the other. It's not the length of the cord, it's the length that the needle makes.
Correct. We have a wonderful join on our circulars. It's just seamless. There's no rough edges or parts that are going to catch your fiber as you're coming across where the needle connects to the join. It's a stainless steel, nickel-free, Michigan-made part, and we make it so it swivels on the cord.
The nice thing about that swivel is it swivels so free and easy that your cord doesn't get all twisted up on you as you knit. So you're not going to be fighting that twist on that cord constantly driving you crazy.
And that really makes a difference when you're knitting overall, but especially if you're knitting something on the smaller size, like using a 16-inch circular. If you're knitting a hat or a little cowl, that cord just really wants to twist up and kind of go the opposite direction and cause a problem, but not when that cord swivels. It just moves right along with you and really eases any stress or strain that may be caused. We brand the size of our needles right onto the needle barrel. We brand the US size and the millimeter size. And because it's branded into the wood, it's not going to wear away. You'll always know what size your needle is. But your needles will gauge in your needle gauge, remember, so you don't have to adjust for gauge.
The thing about the branding though is if you have a needle and you can't read the brand on it, it's a size 3.
That I'm of ours. I don't know about other companies,
And
but
if you have a size 2, there's no brand, because if you can't read it on a 3, you're never reading it on a 2.
that's right.
So in our needle sets, we have 3 different size ranges. The 3 through 10.5 is the Margaret, the 6 through the 15 is the Ellen, and the 3 through 15 is the Artisan. And I'll let Pam explain to you how we came up with those names for our sets.
Well, we named the sets in honor of my mom, Margaret Ellen. She was a wonderful artist and was quite an inspiration for me in my life. Most moms are, I think, but she was pretty special. She did everything from quilting and tailoring and sewing to watercolor, and was always doing something unique and fun and very artistic. So it was really my honor to name the sets after her.
So what's included in the set, along with your tips, are 3 cords to make a 24, 32, and 40-inch length, and 2 of these little couplers. And the things that you do with the couplers is, let's say you're working on a project with your size 6s and you need your 6s for another project. Well, you take your tips off and screw both ends together with the coupler, and now your stitches are nice and safe, and they're always going to be there. They're not going to fall off your project as you're doing something else. And I would suggest, because this was suggested to me at a show once, I thought it was a great idea, is take a piece of paper and write down what the project is and what row you're on, and put that on the cord so that when you come back to it, you know what it is and where you're at.
And maybe even the date.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
You'd be surprised how things get tucked away and forgotten. The other thing you can do with the coupler is extend cord lengths. So you could take all of the 3 cords included in your set and connect them together with the 2 couplers to make one really long cord.
The next aspect to look at is the joint. Watch how when we put this together, the parting line just disappears as the 2 parts meet. What's nice about that is that there is no hang up whatsoever. You can't even feel this with your finger or anything there. So as your yarn comes across, it's not going to be getting grabbed constantly as you're trying to transition from one needle to the other. Actually from the cord to the needle.
Plus the swivel takes all the back pressure off that connector. So there's no back pressure causing it to come unscrewed while you're knitting. And I think that's my favorite part.
It is. And the only thing you have to do is, once these 2 sides meet and that line disappears, just give it a good firm twist to do the final tightening on there, and that's just going to sit there and spin, and you're going to be so happy.
Good to go.
The other thing that we have with the interchangeables is our individual tip and cord. What we do is we allow people to buy a tip and cord set to try the needles out. You know, an interchangeable set is expensive. We understand that you may want to give them a test drive before you jump into that pool.
And that just allows you to make sure that you are happy with the way they perform and they fit your own style of knitting.
And the other nice thing we do with that is, let's say that you've bought your tip and cord and you really want to get your set because you just love the needles. All you have to do is call us or email us, tell us what you've already purchased. We'll discount what you've spent and send you the rest of your set. It's kind of like putting a $48 down payment on your set that way.
Exactly. We have a new interchangeable set. Well, it's probably about a year old now,
Yeah.
a little over a year old. And we made what we call our freestyle needle set. The freestyle needle is a composite, and that's made from a natural recycled material. So it's a sustainable material, very ecological, and the needle itself is just a little bit slicker and a little bit harder than the maple needle, which would have been the slickest and hardest of our wood interchangeable tips.
The size range on this set is from 3 to 9, and the reason we can't go above a 9 is because we're limited by the thickness of the material, so that's the size range here. We find that if people are primarily a metal knitting needle user, they really enjoy the freestyle needles because they're a little faster.
Yeah, they're a little bit faster. They're never going to be as slick as a metal needle. Plus the shape of the needle, that hexagonal shape, is going to allow you to control your stitching. but it is a little bit slicker than the maple, and the needles, again, just condition and get more beautiful with age.
Yeah, they start out with like a wheat color, and as you use them, the lanolin changes the color into this beautiful, rich, beautiful red honey color.
And the oils from your hands
Yeah,
as well.
but so
they start looking like our cherry needles.
it's a little confusing
That's probably
sometimes.
the favorite. Yeah, you got to really take a look.
Let's talk about our single point needles. The size range for our single points are size 6 to 15. You can get them in maple, cherry, and walnut. Our standard lengths are 10 and 14 inch.
Each single point size has a copper top that's unique to that size. For example, a size 6 has a copper feather, the owl is on the size 7, and a size 8 has a fish.
9 is a rowboat, 10 is an Indian arrowhead, and 10 and a half is a kerosene lantern.
The size 11 has the first top I designed, an acorn. The turtle is on the size 13, and the log cabin is on the size 15.
Okay, on to the double points. Our double point range is from size 2 to 15. Size 2 is maple only. 3, 4, and 5 is maple and cherry. 6 through 15 is maple, cherry, and walnut. Size 2 through 5, the standard length is 6 inch. Size 6 through 15, the standard length is 8 inch. But as always with us, you can custom order anything to a specific length at no additional charge.
Our double points are wonderful to knit with. They really nest into each other because of the hexagonal shape. And if you've ever experienced your double point project when you just set it down, go to the kitchen to grab a drink or something, you come back and your stitches have danced off the needle, that doesn't happen with the hexagonal shape.
Yeah, I just throw mine right in my knitting bag and don't even think about it and pull them right out, and they're always right there waiting for me to get going again.
Yep.
Our shawl sticks are basically miniatures of our single point needles, and they make a lovely knitting accessory.
Such as I'm sporting here today in my cowl, I have the arrowhead shawl stick.
And again, you can get them in maple, cherry, or walnut. Okay, let's talk about our jump needles. Our jump needles are basically a hybrid between a single point and a circular needle. So what you end up getting is a 6-inch barrel connected to a circular cord, and on the end of the cord is one of our copper topper stoppers. The barrel still rotates on the cord, so your cord won't get all twisted up on you as you knit. And what you end up having is a very long single point needle. We've made these from anywhere from 12 to 100 inches long. And because it is a custom needle, we do have to make each one of them as the order comes in, so they will take a little longer to make. The other thing too is you get to choose which copper topper stoppers you'd like on the end, and you can have them be the same one, or you can pick 2 different ones. It's entirely up to you.
Just a little word of caution when you're selecting the copper toppers for the ends of your cords. You want to make sure you have a topper that's larger than the stitches on your needle. In other words, you wouldn't want to have a size 15 jump needle and then put a size 6 topper on the end like a feather, because now your stitches will just slide right over.
Right, so on the 15s, anywhere from the rowboat up would be fine. There's plenty of stop there, but
Yeah.
you wouldn't want those smaller sizes on those larger needles.
So the next item up is our yarn bowls. We make them out of cherry and walnut. Typically the cherry has walnut spindles and the walnut has cherry spindles. The nice thing about the yarn bowls, besides the beauty of them, is that they're very lightweight and easy to take with you when you're traveling to go to a knitting group or on the road, going cross country or what have you.
Mm-hmm. The other thing is they're wonderful if you're doing color work, because you've got multiple exit points, so you get your little bundles and bobbins of different colored wool in your yarn bowl, and makes color work a little bit easier.
The other thing to remember is with these woods, the cherry may start out a lot lighter, but over time it'll darken and get into that deeper red tone. And the walnut does just the opposite. It'll start out like with this deep, rich brown tone to it, and it'll lighten and get kind of a little redder hue to it as it ages.
We promised you a little sneak peek into the workshop and how we make the knitting needles, and I think Mark's waiting for us there. So let's go.
Oh, hi. Come on in. I'll show you how we make the needles. First we shape the needles. Then we're going to cut them to size and do an initial sanding. After this, we'll check the needle to see if the size is accurate. Not accurate, sand a little bit more. Final check. Looks like we're good. On to the tips. Hopefully I keep my fingers clear. Now we're going to make the peg for the cap to go on. It's time to brand. First round of gluing. Time to form the cable and test it. Got to wipe off the excess, otherwise the needle won't be smooth. Time for the initial sanding and waxing. Final finishing. Testing the needle for snags or catching at the join. And now they're ready for you to enjoy and knit wonderful things.
Thank you for spending some time with us today. We hope you've enjoyed your peek at our life in our log cabin workshop on Indian Lake, and why our hexagonal knitting needles should be your top choice for an ergonomic and thoughtful knitting needle and a comfortable knitting experience.
Okay, Maggie, work's over. It's time to play. You ready? Stay. Retrieve. Good girl. Good girl.